What's up, Vanguardians? This is Jonathan SP Mindham. I am bringing you today a really interesting video. I really don't do too many of these, but I'm going to do a deck profile, and I'm going to do a deck profile of my Musketeer build. I get a lot of questions about this build. Been playing the deck via online for a long time, and a lot of people always ask, like, oh, you know, like, what are your, like, why do you run it this way? Why do you run it that way? And I have done very well in several tournaments. I've topped in 2 online tournaments that had over 50 plus people. One was like 80 something. One was like probably 30, 40. I can't remember exactly what it was. And this build is the exact same build through and through. I even had pre-Legion once. It was very similar to this, other obviously than the Legion units. So what I'm going to do today, and because it's really, really bad outside snow-wise, and that white is not just a bright light, that is actually snow. So, today I'm going to do my deck profile, and we're going to start with the grade zeros. And of course, we're going to start with our starter. I run Broccoli, and for those who do not know what Broccoli does, she is just simply a grade 3 searcher. It's really because I only run 7 grade 3s in the deck, and I will continue to run 7 grade 3s in this deck even after Stride units are released. I tested it, and everyone's like, oh, you need that extra grade 3 for the Stride. I'm like, the Stride is like a great early, like if you're going second and you can ditch a grade 3, it's perfect. It's even great late, but this deck is so focused on being so aggressively aggro, it's supposed to get your opponent to 4 damage before they even ride grade 3. Like, that is the whole point of this deck. Like, and a lot of people compare this, like, oh, I read Martina because she put so many units back in the deck. Okay, well, I can agree with that. I mean, there's a lot of retiring things out there right now, but to me, if you play the deck correctly, you can win and don't even need to have the really Martina reliance. Like, this is so aggro, it should work for you in such a way that your opponent can't do anything aggressively to you because they spend so much time guarding. So, but yeah, that's my starter. And we go into Chestnut Bullet, which is the kind of the one downfall of the whole deck. I mean, like, in respect of Musketeers, because they require you to sack a Musketeer, call a Musketeer. Chestnut Bullet is the only non-Musketeer currently. When May rolls around, we will get the Musketeer crit trigger known as Allen. He'll replace this, and that's one of the very few things that have done to replace the deck. So, as of we know right now. So right now, for crit of him, then we actually do run 4 more crit of our actual Musketeer unit, which, if you guys know, this one's been around since BT08. That is our good friend, and focus, please, Daniel. One of very few male triggers. Just a really good card. It's for Musketeers. It's, you know, it's basic staple. I feel like, you know, you can't get past that. All right. Then we got 4 Hannah, our heals, of course. Again, staple. It's the Musketeer trigger. Not much more to it. Then my favorite trigger in the entire deck, Ernst. Ernst is so good. He is a staple in any Musketeer deck. I hate when I see Musketeer players not showing him, because he comes in so handy because he's, 1, a reusable trigger, 2, you are basically early game, again, can create plays by putting him into the bottom of the deck, looking at the top 4, and calling a better unit. Like, again, early aggro, this is really good because you can go into so many plays. Like, it's, and I think late game too, when you say you Legion and you rip a crit or a stand and you restand like an Augusto, and they already got 3,000 from the Legion effect, and then if you have a crit the next turn, it's very powerful. Like, I used to hate stands, and I'm glad that they've done a lot more with them to make them, you know, a little more of a, you kind of want to play them. So this is really good. We're gonna go in the grade 1s. I have a couple of unique things in my deck for the grade 1 lineup. Again, a lot of people don't like certain aspects, but we have right now 3 Ruth. She's the 10k attacker. Early game, really good. You know, especially if you hit a stand, you restand him, he's hitting for 15. Your opponent might be in a 9k Vanguard. It makes it so they have to guard. And again, it creates so much pressure. And if I could, I would run 4, but sadly, I don't follow the Japanese build that I've seen where they only like run 4 Vera. Like, that's not good. So we'll get rid of Ruth. Then next, I run 1 quintet wall, and that really is actually done. I used to run 2 and 2, and a lot of playtesting has proven that just perfect guards are so much superior. And the one thing I really do enjoy about the quintet wall, though, is it can set up plays. The deck is not incredibly counterblast heavy, so having her at 1 is really nice. Maybe when Stride comes out, I'll go to 4, but I just like 1 Tekken. It really, I feel like at times does help, especially early game if you don't have enough cards of Legion, and again you're very aggro but you just don't have enough in the drop. This card really helps out, so you can just use it on the rear guard, Vanguard, get your 4 in there. I run 3 Rebecca. I enjoy Rebecca a lot. I feel like if I were to ever take anything out to add anything, it would be Rebecca. I never really seem to use her effect too much because such powers on the Vanguard and things. But what I do love about her is that early game, if I have my perfect field, I'll use her to stack like broccoli and get another stronger unit. And she's actually like my ideal ride as the Vanguard. You know, she's just a good 7k base, and you know, this is just a one of the very few remaining cards from the set era 8 era. I'm gonna go to the next, which is Antonio Banderas. 3 of him. He's pretty stable. Thank God set 14 came out with him because I was tired of using Cherry Blossom. Biggest reason why I stopped playing Musketeers is that they had all this stuff at set 8. And none of it was 100% effective. Like, they really, like, it was a good deck, but 11k base Cecilia, or a 10k base Cecilia, was not nearly as good as some of the other stuff that they came out with. So, this is just, again, a staple card. Again, you can run 4, you could run 1 like I do, it's completely up to you. And what I feel is an absolute must in this deck is 4 Maraca. She is just such a great card. Like, again, she helps set up what I call the perfect line, which is 21k, unless we're in a cross-ride format, you want to go 18, but she really helps set up the perfect lines. And she was so missed for so long because the Japanese never released her in America. And this is the ideal card. Like, this is what really makes the Musketeers go round, because she creates those perfect columns. I think, you know, my opponent dread her sometimes more. I mean, she really helps cinch games, because at late game, hitting for 21, and for her requirement, she doesn't even have to be in the field when the deck shuffles to get the 3k. As long as she's placed and the deck was shuffled, bam, 3k. When she boosts, it's so good. Yes, her ability does not stack. It would be really good, but again, you really don't superly need it to. You just got to hit that 21, and it makes your opponent do a lot of crazy things. So, I'm really glad they released her box topper. I enjoy the chibi art just because not too many units in Vanguard have chibi art, so this is a lot of fun. Grade 2s. We are, you know, we'll start. We're gonna go back here. We got the absolute staple of the deck, like the guy who just really is an all-star MVP is Augusto, and you know, you're like, oh well, he's just a 12k attacker. Again, him, America set up the perfect column, and he creates a lot of problems. Restanding crits on him. Early game aggro. The deck again is very aggro, and it should be played aggro. It shouldn't be played conservative, in my opinion, just because they have the ability to be aggro. So many decks are so aggro, and people don't like. They're like, oh, I'll just wait to put 5 back in, and I'll call 2 units with Martina, and just hope for something good. No, rush the shit out of them and make your opponent do crazy things, because even if you get them to 4 damage and then they maybe heal out, still being at 3 damage, and then you go next turn Legion, we got these power columns, and it's just so good. Like, I just don't see why people like sit there and go, oh, I'm gonna run Martina, and it's like that requires so many cards to be in the drop just to get her effect. This card is another game changer, what makes the deck so aggro. Yes, it's a 7k base, but once you place him on the Vanguard or rear guard, you look at the top card of your deck and you call it to the field if it is a Musketeer unit. Again, every card in this deck, other than 4 right now, are Musketeers. You will call something to fulfill your field. Free pluses. Yes, it's a 7k, but here's what you do. You call it, you use one of your Vanguard skills, you use Rebecca, you use something to retire it and call a better unit. At the same time, what you've already achieved is that free +1 because it has Musketeer in its card name. And again, come May, every unit in the deck will be able to be called out. It is working well. It's a well-rounded machine. It took them a year or two to actually make them feel like a Liberator or something like that, but they're getting there, and they're really good because, again, it does not have to be grade 1 or grade 2, I think, is usually the requirement. It can be any Musketeer unit, so really good. Of course, our mate, we have Saul. Another one of the very few men in the Musketeer clan. Absolutely love this card for a couple reasons. One, because it has a great ability. Once you perform Legion, you can take 3 normal units, which a normal unit is anything but a trigger. Put them on the bottom of your deck in any order that you choose, and then draw a card. Now, I have seen some crazy things. I've seen people say, oh, I've been able to, restand him and draw a couple of times. Great. I absolutely think that's a great thing. Like, free cards for putting things back in the deck, so you're not technically decking out anymore, and you're drawing from it. So, and hopefully you're drawing things you need to guard or things that you need in the future plays. Like, it is just a really good card. Again, its effect only works when it legions. Not super bad. I like to actually ride him as my ideal ride, which is kind of bad, but I usually only region once or twice in the game, and as long as you only have one in the soul, you should be fine. So, it's a good card overall for what it does. It's a little bit different from the normal Musketeer concept. I was really hoping there would be something more like this where you put units back in and draw, and they went the different route where there was like the 5k multiple units now with maidens. And I was really hoping it was like, put units back, draw cards, put units back, draw cards. Whereas OTT's like, look at the top of the deck. This would be a really cool thing to do, is where you don't lose that advantage then where things are in the drop zone. But they went the different route. Okay, now my grade 3 is where again, everyone has their issues with my deck, and where I have issues with others, as I run 3 Elvira. And for those who do not know, she has this great ability to counter or to sack a unit that's a Musketeer, Soul Blast a unit, and look at the top 5 cards of your deck and call a unit that has a Musketeer in its card name. I think that's a really good ability. I think every Musketeer grade or boss should have something that does that, because Cecilia was so successful because she had that ability to replace and replenish units, or to call your weaker ones and to then sack them and make stronger ones. Is a huge ability. I mean, like, you're correcting your field to such a degree to actually make the America and to make the Augusto lines. It's really good. Then, if you have her at Limit Break, every time the deck is is placed on the rear guard due to an effect, you can then counterblast 1 and give this unit a crit, which the crit stacks. So it is guardable. A lot of people point out, it's like, oh, even with America behind her, it only makes it 20k. I'll just drop 2 10s. Well, okay, yeah, that is a very good point, but you still have to guard. Like, you still have to drop. You're not going to do a 2 to pass on something that has got multiple crits on it. So drop your 10k, and I'll put all my effects on my rear guards and make those 21k lines very, 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 very powerful. The whole point of her is not so you're trying to hit 100% with her. Like, yes, you do, but the whole point is to make your opponent, again, play stupidly, to make them drop guard, to make it so that the deck is so aggro that your opponent does not have cards in hand to guard with. It's the play style. I'm sorry I'm getting upset. It's just when people question that, and when people are like, I can't believe I got stuck on Avera and I didn't get Legion. Well, you're not playing it right. Like, I've won with this card. Like, what you really need to do is actually just be so aggressive that she actually is not your technical Vanguard. She's a placement until you can ride Vera. And speaking of Vera, we're going right into her right now with this beauty card. These are all SP, by the way. Goes with my name. Vera is, in my mind, one of the greatest units the Musketeers have ever had. You have 3 abilities, technically, sorry. 1 is her Legion ability, of course. 2 is her ability to, when the unit is legioned, give all units with Musketeer in a card named 3000. Now that's a continuous effect, so they do not have to be in the field to turn you Legion to get that. It's if they're Musketeer, they get 3000. Like some guy tried arguing with that. I'm like, read. It says continuous. It does not matter. It's not an act effect. Act effect would say when you Legion, you give all units on the field 3000. Continuous, I could do my shenanigans all day long. And her third ability is very much the Cecilia ability. Sack a Musketeer. Look at the top 5, call a Musketeer to a rear guard. Again, it does not have to be an open rear guard, it just has to be a rear guard, and it shuffles the deck. So it triggers Maraka's effect almost every turn. I'm one of those players that even if I have a perfect field, I'll try to sack something in order to make sure the deck is shuffled to make sure it's free. You know, it's something you can do. You can only do it once per turn, but still, it's something that it really makes the deck go round, makes the power columns. I'm very satisfied with the deck overall. I don't know how it will do in this current meta. I've played some great players. Blue Flames give me some issues, and who doesn't? They're one of the very few decks that can be just as aggro. Kagero, they have their issues where, you know, they retire the units, but again, you run the things like Silva that call new ones, or you can take your cards from your hand, sack them, and get stronger ones. I feel like that's a tough matchup. I think the toughest matchup for this deck, just because of how much you require rearguard, is Link Joker. And Link Joker at any state is always deadly. You just have to play conservatively with it, and basically would mean like only call a column. Don't have to call a whole column, call a column. So that way when they lock it, you can go to the next one and you can do it, unless they have something like Blaster Joker. You know, that's why I have Alvera too, because Alvera does not require you to be in Legion. It doesn't kill your mate. You can do the effects to get triggers, and you still can gain crits, and like it's actually well worth it to actually have that kind of matchup. So Alvera actually can do something in the Legion format against Blaster Joker. But that's my deck, guys. Sorry if I sound a little ranty on certain things. It just, again, I've been playing it for so long. I kind of have an idea of what works and what doesn't work, and I'm really happy about this deck going forward. I think it's going to be really good in May. The Stride unit comes out in February, and it just helps. For those who don't know what the Stride unit does, I have a Japanese version. So when you ride her, you take a unit from the soul, basically, and you give it its name, so it can become a Musketeer. But once it hits, you clone a copy on the field of something, and you give it 2,000. So, like, it's really fun with, like, Silva, actually. Like, as much as you don't want to usually target that and make it only a 9k attacker, but Silva can reformat your field. And, again, like, you can have a couple more tags. I'm not saying it's the ideal play, but I'm just saying it's a fun... I usually choose Augusto America and get those power columns back in there, so... that is my deck, guys. Please let me know what you think. Rate, comment, subscribe, all the good stuff. And for those who are out in this weather, stay safe and warm. Again, that's the outdoors. That is purely snow out there. So for those out there, stay safe. Thank you so much. Thanks for watching. Bye.